gets away. Joe is gone. Eddie George.
Back is Dorsey to throw.
Yeah!
He throws it in the end zone.
Yeah! Elliott off to the races. Can they catch it? Cuts it back. Ohio State
The Ohio State of Mind podcast hosted by Josh Keatley and Michael Chin.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Ohio State of Mind podcast, episode 46. It is Monday, September 30th, 2024. Buckeyes are coming off of a solid win against Michigan State in East Lansing. And gentlemen, episode 46, Bob Ferguson, thoughts?
Bob Ferguson, former two-time All-American, absolute legend. At any other college, he'd be known as the best running back there. I think he was the 5th pick in the NFL draft. Yeah, I mean, this is actually a really good number. I really got to not go overboard with this number. But Ted Provost, also a two-time All-American, very underrated because he went up to Canada for a while. God, I think he's got some kind of record for interceptions. And then another one, Tim Spencer. Tim Spencer is another super underrated running back because he went to the USFL and not the NFL. So he's got all, he got all these accolades from the USFL, but that slowed down his NFL career. So he doesn't get the same respect as a guy like, Eddie George, who had a really good NFL career. But Tim Spencer was also a former All-American. Definitely an absolute stud. And of course, Duncan Griffin, the third Griffin brother, who did not play very much.
I love our resident historian over there. And today we actually have a special guest. Just below me is Ryan Stewart. He is Coach Ryan Stewart, and he was a graduate assistant for the Buckeyes from 2010 to 2014. So spanned over some pretty decent years for the Buckeyes, I would say. He's got this nice memorabilia that you took home, Ryan. The Buckeyes won a couple games with you there, so that was good. Thank you for joining us, Ryan.
Oh, thank you for having me,
dude. You didn't even cover the there's so much more to his. He was at Boise State.
Take it away.
They had you were there when they had Doug Martin, Kellen Moore, Chris Peterson was the head coach.
Titus Young.
They had a quarterback. They had a cornerback too that was drafted very, very high when you were there too, right?
I mean, Kellen Moore, but Kyle Wilson was the guy. Yeah, Kyle Wilson was drafted in the first round, played for the Jets.
Yep.
And I coached him specifically. He was really fun to coach. And then one of my favorite players ever, he was part of the Legion of Boom defense, was Jerron Johnson. He was super fun to coach. He played safety. So we won a Rose Bowl against TCU while I was there, and then. Believe it or not, guys, I came from Boise State and took a job with Valparaiso University to coach probably the greatest running back that I've ever coached personally, Josh Keatley.
Oh yeah. Funny. This is when the story that lives on the most vividly from our time together at Valpo was when we played San Diego and we got just fucking smashed like 80 to nothing. And we're getting on the flight, and I lost my driver's license. And Carlson was like, I don't fucking care. It turns around and just walks and leaves me there. And you go, I'm sorry, buddy. We'll figure this out. I was like, what? He just was like, I don't fucking care. Turn around. And you looked at me, and you were like, I'm sorry, buddy. We're going to figure this out. Because he was pissed, dude. We were in LAX, and Carlson was pissed.
It was so hard for me because I went from Boise State to where you just don't lose games at all to going to Valpo to where we won one game in the 2 years I think I was there. So
yeah.
But the one good thing about being at Valpo was we talked about it pre-show, but in coaching you'll meet really good character guys and really bad character guys. And Robert Lee was our defensive coordinator, and he's still one of my better friends, and he's one of the best high character coaches that taught me the most that I've ever been around. So shout out to Coach Lee from Valparaiso University.
He's coaching, isn't he? He's still involved over in Gary, Indiana, right?
He was the athletic director for Gary Westside, and then he recently took the job, I think, at Richmond High School, which is kind of like central eastern Ohio. Over there by Miami of Ohio University is where Richmond is.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Well,
Yep.
And then you got back onto the winning ways at Ohio State, so that's where that's
and we'll have some fun because I have some like absolutely ridiculous stories about Ohio State that you guys would love to hear, I'm sure.
Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Can't wait. All right, Chris, let's get into what we saw this past Saturday. Buckeyes covered 38-7. I'd say it was a good game for Will Howard. I think he made some of the best throws that we've seen him wearing in his Buckeye career so far. Jeremiah Smith, I mean, what more can we say about this young man? He is just the highlight reel waiting to happen. He's absolutely amazing. Defense played, aside from one drive, they played pretty well. We're going to nitpick that, though. We'll get into it in a little bit. Ryan's got some great insight that he's going to share with us, specifically on the linebacker side of things. But we'll get into that shortly. But yeah, I mean, guys, for what it's worth, solid win.
Chris, do you want to make the next point, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, hey, sure. I am absolutely a stickler for time. Don't get me wrong, but I not Ohio State related, but the rest in peace to the original Cincinnati kid, Pete Rose. I just saw that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Dikembe Mutombo today too.
And Dikembe Mutombo. No, it is wild. Hey, listen, we'll go ahead with the same Will Howard quote from last week. Hey, no one's going to complain about a 38-7 win, but we absolutely will. Hey, you're right. Jeremiah Smith, he's a freak. He's got now 5 receiving and 1 rushing touchdown. So, little shaky in the first quarter there. Transfer from OU, Kazmarek had a killer penalty that really killed that first drive momentum. Defense, Mike, I think you said it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hey, this offensive line, they don't have that dog in them. That meant I know the talent that's on that defense, and I haven't seen that set in tone just yet. I mean, again, it could be, competition.
Are you talking about the offensive line or the defensive line?
I'm talking about the defensive line.
D-line, yeah.
I'm talking about the D-line. I haven't seen that tone set. I haven't seen that dog yet. We know we've got some dogs. It just depends on what kind of the dogs they are this week. There's times I thought the defense gave a little bit too much cushion. Let's be real.
The whole game. Come on.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, I'm going to emphasize that S. I'm going to emphasize that S on there.
There's a lot of S's on there.
Yeah. And then let's be real. We got some turnovers, but one of those turnovers, hey, if we would have saw that face mask, that would have been all for naught as well. And obviously, Ryan, he's going to get into the linebackers. I will say that we've been a proponent for seeing more of, Gabe Powers and Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese now, he's sitting 3rd in the team with tackles. 3rd in the team with tackles. He's got 13 so far. And honestly, just to close it out, Peacock is just bad. That broadcast is just bad. Oh, my God.
They're so bad.
I can't. Colt McCoy's figuring it out, but it's if one of us were just talking in the living room watching the game.
And butchering the names. Everyone's name. Too.
Yeah. Jenkins was out there running the ball.
That was Andrew Siciliano, but I don't know
play by play.
But he does a really good job. He's the Browns play-by-play guy. I think that I would like to know the backstory for what happened, because Andrew Siciliano does a really good job with the Browns, and they have some pretty fucking rough names. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, you know what I mean? Like throughout that roster. So it would not surprise me if they said, hey, dude, you're doing the Ohio State game. Here's the name of the list at like noon on Saturday, because he usually does a good job. Colt McCoy was a train wreck.
Hold on. Yeah. I do that. I do that like for a living. So we do high school games here, and I'm the associate producer. I do all of that for my broadcast crew. These are guys in high school. They don't know these kids either.
That's fair.
They get these names right because they ask. It's not that hard. It really isn't. And then, like there's some of the best players in the field, and he's still getting their names right. And like that's what I don't understand.
Sean Junkins was bad. That was egregious.
Like really bad. I mean, come on, like he's one of the best players on the team. So
that was egregious. That was egregious.
I have some big time qualms with. I'm okay with the actual, like the visual. I was cool with that. It's just like the commentators, like you almost want.
Well, get ready for the next 2 weeks of it as well, though. Well, no, CBS is this week. Peacock's the Oregon game.
Yeah.
So I'll give my 2 cents on the game, and then Ryan, you can jump in and tell us what we said right and what we said wrong. Is that everybody cool with that?
Oh yeah.
All right. So I'm actually kind of surprised you guys are so down on this game. I'm the pessimistic one of the group. I thought that if they play like this against Oregon, they're going to demolish them. If they play like this the rest of the year, they're going to win a national championship. Yes, you can nitpick it, but the things you can nitpick, you can easily justify. Okay. Will Howard made 2 of the worst throws I've ever seen. Well, it was the first half, and it was probably the largest stadium he's ever played in. It was his first away game in the Big Ten, playing with Ohio State in prime time. Okay, I'm going to give him some butterflies because he also made some damn good passes as well. TreVeyon Henderson on that Devin Brown touchdown to Jeremiah Smith. TreVeyon Henderson, he didn't get a good block on that guy. It feels like he is constantly going for the kill shot because he is so successful with that. But that shit's not going to work when you're playing a good defense like Abdul Carter from Penn State comes around that corner. You're not going to kill shot on him. So he needs to set his feet. He needs to engage.
Sure.
Good block on that guy. And Devin Brown and Jeremiah, they all played really well in that play too because he had just enough space, just enough time to get rid of that ball. And that's also a hard block for TreVeyon Henderson to make because he's moving all the way to the left side. That brings me up to Josh Simmons. I thought the offensive line played great. Again, I'm going to nitpick Josh Simmons, though, because I don't really know what was going on. I saw him go down. Like, he was, like, blocking on the inside a lot. And it felt like I don't know if there was, like, delayed blitzes, and I'm too stupid to pick that up. But it felt like there were a few free rushers on the outside. And I'm like, man, why is he doing that? That's weird. Because a couple plays, Donovan Jackson wasn't blocking anybody. I'm like, it felt like he should have gone outside and then Donovan Jackson take that tackle. But, again, I don't know the scheme. Just like TreVeyon Henderson, I'm nitpicking. On the defensive line, I think Jack Sawyer – the wide receivers, they all played great. All the wide receivers played great. I do think it's interesting that Mecca Ibuka's the returner now, so they have no faith in Jaden Ballard or Brandon Ennis. But on the defensive line, I think Jack Sawyer and Ty Hamilton played like All-American guys. Jack Sawyer, I've made peace with the fact that he's never going to get any sacks, but he's going to bulldog the offensive tackle and make the quarterback very uncomfortable. JTT played like shit. Right. I'm really upset with how JTT played. I'm pretty sure that was a freshman left tackle, and I'm pretty sure JTT outweighed him by 20 pounds. And he didn't play bad. Everybody keeps saying, well, he didn't play bad. He didn't play bad. You should play good against a freshman offensive tackle that you outweigh. That's not going to happen very often, and you did not take advantage of it. Sonny Styles is a liability. Sonny Styles shouldn't start anymore. I have no problem with him getting time. He's young. He's clearly playing out of position, still figuring things out, but he is a liability. And a good team like Oregon is going to really, really take advantage of that. If Velling wouldn't have dropped, I think Velling had 2 drops, or the Oregon Titans aren't going to do that. They would, if he would have caught one of those balls, they probably would have kept going to him, and it would have been pretty nasty. But they just couldn't make it happen because Michigan State's offensive is just so poor. Defensive backs, I thought most of them played well. Davison Igbinosun he was awful. But again, I'm going to justify it. I think that they were really giving a lot of cushion. I don't know what they were doing. Yeah. That Nick Marsh too. There's no tape on Nick Marsh. We talked about him briefly last week because he's a true freshman and he was hurt all year. He's had hand issues. So maybe that's kind of how I'm going to justify Igbinosun, is that he didn't know what he was going to go up against. And that guy's really good. If I'm Ryan Day, I'm putting a little asterisk next to his name, trying to get him in the portal. He's like a lesser he's the Michigan State version of Jeremiah Smith. That guy was
they're fine a wide receiver. Come on now.
But that guy was very good. It was very impressive. He beat Igbinosun like a drum, and he's a freshman. So, but those are my takeaways. Like I really do. Overall, I think that if they continue to play this way, they will win a national championship. But Coach Stewart, what do you think?
Just like touching on the offense really fast. Like my perception is kind of like agree with you. The wide receivers played well. The running backs are great. The offensive line had a good game. I think this was the first time that we got to see what Will Howard, how he handles adversity and how he handles like being nervous or being put in bad positions or even taking a big hit. And he showed to me, like, I think that he showed me that he is more ready to be in that position than somebody like Brown or any quarterback that they've had kind of in a while. it's not his fault, but like something that they really have to wrap up is like, in my opinion anyway, is he cannot be holding the ball in the backfield for as long as he is. Like, he has the best receiving core maybe in college football. Like, get the ball out of his hand. Like, stop running these plays to like where they're flood concepts all the way across the field with these big crossers. Like 3-step, 5-step, get it out of his hand. You know what I mean? Like, he took big hits that he didn't need to take because the play took too long to develop.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Like,
Can I ask you a question about?
Yeah,
you talking about Will Howard getting hit, Will Howard run the ball. So I do think that the cool thing about Chip Kelly being in control of this offense is that they're running the quarterback more. We've never seen the quarterback run as much as we have now with Will Howard. And it feels like a lot of that's based off the outside line. We'll see with like they'll do like the RPOs and the guards will pull, the tackles will pull, or you know they'll the wide receiver will block down and the tackle will pull out. They're doing a lot of interesting stuff with that offensive line, and Will Howard's able to identify where to go, when to pull it, when to give it. And I think that they're going to use that a lot against good teams like Oregon. We're kind of just seeing a glimpse of it. But the problem I have, like you were saying with him holding on to the ball, is that when he does go to pass it, he still acts like even a pass play is an RPO. He's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I might take it off. That's the problem I have with what he's doing. Is that what you're seeing too? Or
no, I mean, our RPOs, like if we're seeing Will Howard run the ball on most RPOs, it's wrong. It's a run pass option. He hands it to the running back or he throws it. It's not, if it breaks down to the point to like where it's an RPO, he doesn't hand it, he keeps it and he runs, that's typically a broken play, but Ohio State makes it look okay because he's a good athlete. But I don't think that he's supposed to be on these RPO plays. I don't necessarily think that they're designed for him to necessarily keep it. You know what I'm saying?
But the ones where he's maybe these aren't RPOs. Maybe they're just options. Options.
It's a read option.
The primary option, then that's fine. I just think that on the passing downs in that game specifically against Michigan State, he's holding on to the ball too long. He needs to, especially on these, like that. Would we all agree that the hit that he took, like that could have been end of the season? That could have been broken ribs. That could have been whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried.
Yeah. So like that's the part that I didn't like. But the offense, like I said, I mean, or like you guys are all saying, like the cool thing about Ohio State this year is that their offense is damn near going to score every time they have the ball. And that's like a great problem to have. But like defensively, to me, there's like an existential crisis that nobody's looking at. And it's the linebacker play. And so is it cool for me to kind of get into this, or did you want to go over anything else, Josh?
No,
I'm
okay. So let's get into this linebacker play because it's driving me nuts. I talk to Josh all the time about this. I don't understand. Like right now, we have a bunch of linebackers that do not fill, they do not scrape, and they do not have any gap integrity at all. I don't understand. Like, I wasn't at Ohio State with any of these guys that are coaching right now. The 4 people that are still at Ohio State that when I was there, Mark Pantoni was there, Brian Vodolini was there, Tim Hinton was there, and Mick Moriarty was there. And I can count on like one hand how many times I had a legitimate conversation with Mick Moriarty. He's just not the type of guy that you want to go talk to. So Ohio State has a giant problem. So right now they have no gap integrity. They don't take penetration steps downhill, and they don't play a gap. Like there's one linebacker on their team that does that. And so far this season, it's been Gabe Powers, and he played 15 snaps all year. The greatest combination that they could possibly put on the field would be to put Gabe Powers at Mike and put Arvell Reese at Will. At least that way you have 2 people that have some gap integrity and they fly downhill and make plays. Now, a lot of the arguments would be, okay, well, Gabe Powers had great plays against second-team players. Well, that doesn't apply because Gabe Powers showed that he can get to where he needs to be and he's making plays. So, like, for example, against Western Michigan, there's a play where Gabe Powers is in and C.J. Hicks is the will. And Gabe Powers penetration steps to A run with Western Michigan supposed to go to A gap. The running back sees Gabe fill in the gap. He bounces it to B gap. Gabe scrapes over top and fills the hole and makes a tackle for a loss. And CJ Hicks hasn't even moved yet.
Yeah.
He's standing there.
That is a real thing that happened. He's not exaggerating. I went back, I watched that play. I think CJ Hicks takes like 2 steps, but it's weird. Gabe makes an excellent play, and CJ Hicks is like he's got his feet in cement.
So I mean, if you go across if we watch football next Sunday and we watch like NFL linebackers, okay, NFL linebackers will take a short step that's called a penetration step, and it's a commitment to their gap. And the reason that they take it is because if you're just standing, waiting around in the NFL, a guard, a center, somebody is going to cross your face and you're not going to get there. And like Ohio State, I don't know if it's like scheme. I don't know if they're taught to do this, but like the 2 absolute worst are Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks do not move on the snap of the ball.
Well, you know that's not what they're taught to do, because Cody Simon, you have to give him some credit. He does move with authority. He does, when the ball snaps, he'll move, and those other guys will stay there. So I mean, it's
Cody Simon. The problem with Cody Simon is Cody Simon's playing a position. They have him playing Mike, and he's not physically athletic enough to play Mike. There's times in this defense to where the Mike has to have a gap to the sideline. And if I went up to any of you guys and I said, hey, Josh, I want you to bet your paycheck that Cody Simon, if we line him up on a hash and I say, I'm going to take Travion Henderson and I'm going to run him, we're going to both line up on the hash, and I'm going to say, let's run to the sideline and you take Cody Simon, I'll take Travion Henderson, who's going to win? Like, Cody Simon is not getting to the sideline and making that tackle against somebody like Travion Henderson. It's just not going to happen.
And I understand, right? And I don't think anybody here is claiming that Cody Simon is, Darren Lee or Ryan Shazier, right? All I was saying is that I do feel like he at least
he does. He's moving in the right direction, and he fills gaps. He's just not good in coverage. He's not good. He's not good at getting off blocks from anything that I've ever seen.
We talked about this pre-show too. I want to bring it up. He got a lot of credit for that 3rd and 1 stop. But I think people forget that he botched that play against Marshall the week before on the goal line. He was supposed to, when they went over the top for the touchdown, that was supposed to be him coming over there to stop it when the defensive tackle kind of dove at, did the bear crawl or whatever to create that chaos. And he didn't do that. So to me, it was almost a reaction of like, oh, someone got in his ass about, hey, you got to do this. And he didn't correct this time. So even he's not perfect.
Like besides like the fundamental play that we're kind of like talking about, the things that we see, it's obvious to me that like Sonny Styles is a great athlete, but he's not a great linebacker. It's obvious that CJ Hicks doesn't necessarily know enough to be on the field. He's always out of position. He's always lost. He doesn't do the little things. Neither one of those guys do penetration steps. Neither one of those guys fill gaps. And neither one of those guys are quick to get into coverage when they need to get into coverage. A lot of times those linebackers have a hook curl responsibility, and they're supposed to be looking for crossers crossing their face. Cody Simon's very bad at this too. Cody Simon a lot of times will let a crosser cross his face with no resistance and then catch the ball in front of him and then turn upfield without making a play on any of it. So like the question that I have this is what I don't understand is I don't understand why Jim Knowles chooses to, and Jim Knowles may not be calling the shots on any of that, because Urban Meyer, if you were at Ohio State when I was there and Urban Meyer said this guy's playing or that guy's playing, that's what happened. But it just comes down to, you have to think about it like rationally. Okay, so like what is it that makes these guys not want to play a guy like Gabe? And is it athletic ability? It can't be athletic ability. It can't be size. Gabe is 6'4", 245. And when they ran their 40s, from everything that I've heard from the people that I know, Gabe runs a 4.4 40. So don't tell me that Sonny Styles is faster than Gabe, because I think – Go ahead.
Well, and I want to vouch for that too, because you were gracious enough to hook me up with Butch Reynolds, the gold medalist Butch Reynolds, who was the speed coach at Ohio State, and now does private sessions. He worked with Gabe and vouched that Gabe ran in the 4.4s. He said Gabe ran, an Olympic sprinter who wouldn't lie about this, said Gabe runs in the 4.4s. So
for Gabe's entire high school life, he's been working with Butch Reynolds, and then he's been working with me on defensive back stuff because we would go to these rival camps and he would have to cover guys. And so we worked on it for a long time. And so then like that just brings me kind of to the next point. Like, what is the reason that there would be like, what's the justifiable reason to not give Gabe a shot? Like you talk about all the time. And what exactly is it? Is it an unfair, unjust bias that sometimes coaches get? You know, we all know Urban Meyer didn't play Joe Burrow because Urban Meyer didn't recruit Joe Burrow. I mean, maybe, you know, like it's all speculation. It doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't play a guy that has the talent that this guy has.
Can I ask you two questions?
Okay.
So the first one is, you talked about Urban Meyer kind of having that overruling ability. How often did he do that on the defensive side of the ball? Do you have any specific like examples that you remember where he was like, "Nah, we're playing this guy. I don't care."
I mean, do you remember Corey Brown, the safety, not Philly Brown, but Corey Brown?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Brown came into Ohio State. He was injured when Urban came into the fold, kind of. And I remember us telling Coach Meyer that, like, hey, Corey Brown is like your best safety, because he was like dogging Corey Brown, like constantly, like basically being like, you know, like I remember him going up to Corey Brown and saying, hey, you're lucky that all these guys vouch for you because I wanted to throw you off the team 2 weeks ago.
Oof.
I mean, Urban Meyer was a tyrant, bro. Like, he's not somebody.
I can see that.
Yeah, he's like absolutely ridiculous. And so like, yeah, like Urban Meyer would not let Corey Brown play until Corey Brown proved something to him, you know, whatever it was that he needed to see. So, I mean, yeah, like I just don't understand what the rationale would be. Like, at least what you should do is put Gabe in half the game and see what happens.
Well, that brings me to my next question. I mean, you might not be able to answer this, you know, because this is a little bit after your time. We now live in a day and age of NIL, right? And it's been made very clear by a few people that Ryan Day is a little bit, you know, he's not Urban Meyer, right? Ryan Day can't be swayed by outside influence to play or give opportunities to other people, right? Do you think, we all know that Cody Simon he came back in a large reason before that was the NIL. We all know that CJ Hicks had gotten a rather large NIL deal, right? We see that he's getting paid. We know that Sonny Styles is getting a rather large NIL deal because he reclassified to come to Ohio State, right? The only guy I don't think that is making any money is the two guys is Gabe and Arvo Reese. So do you think that they keep throwing Sonny Styles out there because they feel like they've made a financial investment to do so, or do you not think that that's a thing to worry about in college? I don't know.
I think that it's even, it could be something like that, but I think that it's even more like stupid and petty than that. Like, I feel like Ohio State has like a serious image agenda all the time. And so I think that what probably, like, something that comes across my mind all the time is like CJ Hicks is very, 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 very loud, and his social media following and his family is very, very loud. Like, the comparison that I've always been told, and this is from people that I know, is that his mom is like Eli Apple's mom. Eli Apple's mom was like, she would be calling Urban Meyer on his phone all day long.
She was so loud, she got herself an ESPN job. Good old Annie Apple there for a bit.
So I don't know if it's like Ohio State is worried because if they didn't find a spot for Sonny Styles to play, give CJ Hicks all of these opportunities to play, bring Cody Simon back, if any of those guys were to transfer, I feel like they would think that their media image would take a hit. I think that now, like, you're going to see CJ Hicks playing a lot less because he's kind of exposed himself, and like the Ohio State fans are over that. And so they can be like, okay, we're not going to get beat up image wise if this guy doesn't play. but Gabe is like a humble, soft-spoken, Jesus following, quiet Christian type of guy that feels like you should do everything based off of merit. So he's not going to complain and he's not going to have this like loud agenda. I mean, he's just going to he's just put his hard hat on and go to work. But like, I feel obligated at this point to be like, I don't know what they're doing, but they're going to lose this guy if they don't change it. And as far as the Ohio State image goes, like, you're not giving yourself a good image by not giving this guy who's working hard, like, a fair shot at the whole deal. I don't really know what the bias is, but there's some kind of bias there that's unacceptable. Like, this is a guy that should be playing.
Do you think that all those things you described, Gabe is also, he comes from Marysville, Ohio. He committed when he got the Ohio State offer. He committed very early. There wasn't a lot of thought by it. He's an Ohio State kid. I think he told me once his favorite linebacker was Chris Spielman. Right? There's not a lot of kids in their 20s that even know who Chris Spielman is. Right? So the kid's clearly an Ohio State fan. Do you think they're taking advantage of the fact that hey, we don't have to feel forced to put him in because he's not going to go anywhere?
He's not gonna complain. He's just gonna shut up and like do what we tell him to do. And like his dad is an Ohio guy. His dad, he's old school like that because his dad was a linebacker coach. His dad played for Findlay, won a national championship. He coached football for like over 20 years. And Gabe has two brothers that are also linebackers, and they're both awesome. But yeah, like, I don't know why this is happening. And but it's just kind of like, it's really like an injustice. And then it's so crazy to me because it's almost like Ohio State's like, we would rather keep our image good than put our best players on the field. And we would rather have this image thing situated. I mean, they're gambling. They're like gambling. They're saying that like, we can get it done with all these other positions and we can be a liability in this position. And like somebody, and all you guys are football guys, and mock my words, somebody's going to figure this out. What you got to do to cause Ohio State major problems is Jim Knowles runs his defense. He has his defensive line is laid out this way: a 1, a 3, in either the ends are in 5s or they're in a 7 if there's a tight end. At some point in time, whether it's Penn State, whether it's Oregon, whether it's Iowa this weekend, somebody's going to say, if we can seal that 1, because that 1 normally that demands a double team. So if we can take that 1 out of the equation with one guy, and then we can reach block the other tackle, and we can run up a gap, Ohio State will not fill it. We will run Cody Simon over for 5 yards of carry.
Now, and I think that talking about the gaps is pretty self-explanatory, but for those that are listening, when you're talking 1, 3, 5, so he's talking about the 1 tech, a 3 tech, where the defensive line is lining up. So like, I think it's Tyleik Williams that's typically the 1 tech, and then Hamilton's typically the 3 tech. If that helps those that are listening, right? Or do I get those mixed up?
And so no, you have it right. But if they, so just for the listeners like that, if they can take their center and their guard, and they can double team Tyleik Williams and just keep him in that A gap. And then if their other guard can handle the other tackle that's in the 3, and you have somebody like Singletary, that running back from Penn State, and he has a 1-on-1 with Cody Simon in the A gap, he's going to run Cody Simon over every play and gain 5 yards.
Well, we saw that a little bit against Marshall when they were running the quarterback draw, and Hero Canoe was at 1 tech. And they were kind of manhandling in Hero Canoe. They ended up putting Taiwan Malone in, but and thank God it was against Marshall, because Marshall didn't have the horses to do it. But we also talked about before that show that they typically that Marshall had a little speedster running back that they were going to, and they tried to go to that against Ohio State. Well, they were moving the 1 tech. They were doing exactly what you're saying, Ryan. And then what they did was, hey, we think we can do this. And then they put that big running back, I think his name was Jordan, from NC State, and they were starting to do it a little bit more. Then the quarterback got hurt, and it all kind of unraveled. But that leads me to this. My next point is that this week Ohio State plays Iowa, and Iowa is really the first legitimately good team Ohio State's played, right? Michigan State's okay. They're going to make a bowl game. Marshall's going to make a bowl game. Western Michigan's going to make a bowl game. Iowa's going to be right right there fighting for a playoff spot. In my eyes, Ohio State is far better than them talent-wise by a wide gap. But what you're saying concerns me, because if anybody has the horses and is built to do this, it's Iowa. They have a center who's a preseason All-American, was on Bruce Feldman's freak list, where I think he squats like 1,000,000 pounds or something like that. They have a guard who's a preseason first-team All-American, was an All-American last year. They have 2 running backs that are very, very, very good, could start for most NFL teams. And then they have 2 tight ends, one Luke Lachey, who's probably going to be an early-round draft pick, and Ostrander, who's also very, very solid. So all those things you're describing, if anybody can do it, it would be Iowa. Right.
Well, then, and also remember that against Michigan State early on in that game, they kind of tried to run up a gap and they had some success with it. And then they really did beat Ohio State with play action. So establishing run, and then like Cade McNamara can throw off play action, because those linebackers were super lost in play action. There was some play action plays that Michigan State pulled off to like where there was nobody around.
I think that's all Cade McNamara can throw out of his play action.
Hey, sure, but you know what? Like, if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. And like right now,
but Lachey's very good. The thing is, Lachey gets wide open against really good, talented defenses. And if you have a guy like Styles, who gets lost,
you got to throw it far. 5-10 yard passes every now and then.
Yeah, and if he's wide open and it's a little high, he's got to jump up. It really might not be a big deal. So I guess that's. I still view this as a blowout. My money would be on Ohio State. Like, listening to you talk does make my butt pucker up a little bit. I mean, do you see this game going differently?
I mean, I'm not saying that this Iowa team is the team to like take this and really cause Ohio State problems, but I think that the linebackers in this game will be definitely exposed, and they're going to have to make like a hard decision. And I hate to kind of beat a dead horse, but like at some point in time, they're going to be in a game to like where they need a gap filler and they need somebody that's actually like knows how to play linebacker. And it's just a shame that they had 4 games to let Gabe get half the reps or get experience or get whatever. Sure. And they're going to expect him to come in and save them when something like this happens. I'm not worried about Iowa. I'm worried about Oregon, and I'm worried about Penn State, because Penn State's running back is for real. Both they're going to have the offensive line.
Are you worried at all about Michigan then? Because that kind of what you're describing is something that they do well.
It's all they do well.
I think Michigan is going to cause Ohio State tremendous problems as long as Orji doesn't throw the ball. Just go run the Baltimore Ravens defense or offense, and just have Orji keep it for like half the time and hit a B gap. Make them fill gaps, because right now, I challenge anybody to go watch an Ohio State game and then come back to me with an honest answer and be like, yeah, Ohio State's good at filling gaps, because they're not. And it's crazy to me. It's a fundamental linebacker play, and they're not doing it.
And then one more thing about Gabe too. I really want to make sure we emphasize this for the listeners, because you and I talk so much too that sometimes I forget that, like, I know what you're saying because we talk so much. But when you were talking about like, hey, it doesn't matter that he's going up against the second string, because what you're saying is that it's whether you're playing the first string, the second team, an all Madden team, your instincts don't change, right? It's kind of like we talk the golden rule is kind of like when we talk about Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence's best pass in college football was against like the Citadel. And everybody goes, well, it was against the Citadel. Well, yeah, but he threw it into like triple coverage, like 70 yards on a frozen rope. It doesn't, that kind of pass against anybody is going to be very impressive. And that's kind of what you're saying about Gabe Powers.
The way that like a normal listener that doesn't like know football like me, because I'm like an absolute football nerd, is that the difference that you see when Gabe gets on the field and why these plays get made, like the tackle against Michigan State or the tackles for losses against Western Michigan or the pick six, is because Gabe is reading, reacting, and going 100 miles an hour to the ball. And there's nobody else doing that. And so like the pick against the interception he had against Akron, like here's that play, Gabe read the play, did his penetration step, and then he knew the pass was going to the running back. And so Gabe was either going to intercept that ball or he was going to knock the shit out of the running back.
Yeah.
He was going to smash that running back. And we haven't seen any linebackers do that Hardly at all. And Gabe always does that. Against Western Michigan, I told you about the play against Western Michigan. He fills his gap responsibility, scrapes down the line, and makes a tackle for a loss before C.J. Hicks even moves.
Yes, and C.J. Hicks gets a lot of credit for a couple of sacks he's had this year, as well as he should. But a lot of people might, when you talk about C.J. Hicks, that's what gets brought up. Well, he's got those sacks, he's doing something. But blitzing and not having any responsibility is much easier than thinking and processing, and that's why he's so good at blitzing and getting to the pass rusher. Like you said, we all know he's a great athlete. He's a 5-star kid. But when he has to process, that's what slows him down and makes him freeze into space.
C.J. Hicks is good at blitzing because we have the defensive line that we have. The defensive line takes up all the gap, and he's a free runner. He has to beat a running back. So like Josh, I could put you in that scenario with that defensive line, and you might get a sack.
Well, I mean, he's yeah. I mean, I feel like
he's faster than you. His legs are longer. That's probably why.
I feel like he's more effective than even Cody Simon or Sonny Styles, though.
I just like I said. I mean, I freak out about this. I mean, and hey, you know what? I might be biased because like I love this kid. I've coached this kid. I've seen this kid, how hard he works. I know his family, but it's also like I'm a true hardcore Buckeye fan. And like, I just do not understand the justification. I just do not understand how you could look at what's going on and you could, with any rational thinking at all, be like, this is not the best linebacker that we have. He's the only one doing linebacker things.
Well,
linebackers are supposed to read gaps, scrape, fill, all of those things. And he's the only one doing it.
It's very important too to keep to emphasize the fact that I know that you have a personal relationship with Gabe. You know Gabe inside and out. But with that said, you were also at Ohio State when they had they had one of the best linebackers ever to play the game in Ryan Shazier. So you know yourself some linebacker. You know what it takes. You know what it looks like. You just flat out know what it looks like.
I mean, for anybody that's like a viewer that's like kind of second guessing what I'm saying because like, you know, the bias or whatever, go watch a highlight tape of Ryan Shazier and watch what Ryan Shazier does when he's reading and when he's shooting gaps. He's a million miles an hour to the ball, and he's coming with crazy intentions. He's not waiting. He's not sitting back. He is coming to like absolutely kill you. And that's the separation. That's the difference. And like, that's the thing that's so weird about it is Gabe is bigger and faster than him.
I almost said something wildly inappropriate there, but I'm not. I'm going to save the joke for later. It was a Ryan Shazier joke, but I won't make it. That's awful.
Take it off the table. Stop that.
Stop
that. Stop that already.
Josh, just to get back on track. I mean, I'm sorry. Thank you guys so much for letting me have like the rant on Gabe. I definitely don't think that Iowa is the team that is gonna really expose Ohio State, but Iowa will be the first team to where the linebackers are tested at a level that they haven't been tested. Like these running backs are going to come downhill with intention. And if you're just standing there like these linebackers are, you're going to get run over. You're going to have positive yards. You're going to grade bad. So that's one. The offense will win this game. Iowa cannot stop Ohio State's offense.
Well, I mean, when you keep talking about linebackers and the effectiveness of linebackers, this is the best linebacker core that we will see by a large margin. I mean, maybe not the entire season, but I mean, Jay Higgins is an All-American level player. Nick Jackson, an All-American level player. You know, he started 4 years, started 3 years at Virginia. Both these guys are super, super effective. I agree with you. I think Ohio State's going to move it at will, but I'm thinking that I would assume if anybody who's listening to the show goes out of their way to pay attention to the linebackers this week at Iowa, I think you're really going to see the difference, I guess is the point of my story. Does that make sense?
No,
I mean, you just got to think the last thought about that Michigan State game, there was plays to where Caleb Downs filled the gap and made a tackle in the backfield before a linebacker did.
That's true. And he also had a great game. I forgot to mention him in my little ramble, but yeah. Yeah.
So how is that possible? He's like 10 yards off of where the linebackers are even at. And so how
that brings
he's
up
not blitzing. He's just reading and reacting.
Well, that brings up a question. He wasn't doing that the first 3 games. So is there something schematically going on that's bringing him closer?
I mean, Josh, he's probably seeing that the linebackers aren't doing it.
Knowles are down.
And he's just that good.
He's just that guy, man.
That's possible.
I mean, yeah, and that's why they went out and got him, right? Because he cleaned up messes.
But that's odd because he didn't do it. I shouldn't say he didn't do anything. He did a great job the first 3 games, but he played out of his mind against Michigan State, and that's a big reason why. It felt like he was creating more chaos and action towards the line of scrimmage. So part of me I guess we'll have a better answer this week, but part of me wonders if Knowles recognizes what's going on, and that's why he's telling. Maybe that's why Downs playing more aggressive.
See,
you don't think so?
You're just like do not give Knowles credit for that. Don't give Knowles credit for
knock it off.
Caleb Downs being a badass. Like that had nothing to do with it. That was Caleb Downs being like, these linebackers are not doing their job. I'm gonna go do it for them.
All right, Mike, Chris, I feel like I've hogged Coach's time the whole time.
No. It's awesome. It's been great to hear you guys going back and forth. Honestly, the way I'm looking at it is I think Ohio State wins. I don't think they cover. I feel like Iowa's going to try and run the ball, control the clock. Caleb Johnson's a really good running back. He's, arguably one of the best that they'll see this year. And I just feel like at this point in time, like we've talked about, the linebackers really haven't been tested, and they've given up some yards. And again, this is the best guy they faced so far this year. I think he has a good game, which keeps them in it. I don't think Iowa wins, but I don't think Ohio State covers.
So, Mike, I got you down for Iowa plus 20.5. Chris, where are you at?
Is it 20.5 now?
20.5.
Okay, because I pulled that number 2-0. Yeah, I pulled that 23.5 on
one of them,
Sunday.
right, Mike?
Yeah, I'll still take them. I think it's going to be like 10 to 14. I think it's going to be pretty close.
For those that are listening, though, the move from 23.5 to 20.5 is absolutely huge, because not only does it go through
massive,
it goes through a whole complete key number in 21, which rarely happens in college football the week of the game. You see that a lot in preseason picks, game of the year picks early on, but never during the week of the game. So this is pretty huge. But Chris, where are you at? I'm sorry.
Now that it's 20.5, give me Ohio State, give me 21. Okay. And absolutely, I think that it's going to be a wake-up call to this linebacking core. I hope that let's be real. Hopefully they step into that gap and get their fucking bell rung and wake up, and start delivering the hammer rather than getting hammered. Honestly, the flip side of it is what I want to see. I'd like to see both of our running backs against this linebacking core. Linebacking core that moves around. They fill gaps. They get sideline to sideline. Look for Iowa to, just like Akron did week 1, long drawn out drives, keep the ball out of the Ohio State offensive hands. Again, Iowa's offense, 250 rushing yards a game. That's good enough for 10th in the nation. We talked about Caleb Johnson, who said last week after their game ended with Michigan State, hey, it's already on to Ohio State. He is fifth.
They're coming off a bye too, right?
Yep, they're well rested. They're coming off a bye. Caleb Johnson is 5th in the nation in rushing. I look for Ohio State to win. I'll take Buckeyes by 21, but I can see some frustration of Iowa holding on to the ball and not giving us what we want.
Mike, I almost said something. When you said bye week, I almost said something.
Oh.
We'll talk about it after the show. Anyways, Ryan, did you want to stick around and do picks with us, or you got something?
Yeah, sure. No, I will. I would love to stay around. Thank you so much.
We'll save you for last on each game, just because you know more than us. But here's how I view that. So I'm with you, Chris. I'm also going to take Ohio State, given the 20.5. I don't think Caleb Johnson is that good. I compare him a lot to Darius Taylor in Minnesota. They're effective running backs, but you get a lot of college running backs that have had a lot of stats because the offensive line is so insane. 4 of the starting 5 offensive line for Iowa were all Big Ten by some publication in the preseason. 2 were rated as All-Americans in Logan James and Colby, what's his name? Connor Colby. Those guys are going to be drafted very early. 4 of the 5 were all Big Ten, and one guy's got a sick mustache and a mullet. That's a deal. we saw LaShawn Williams was a 1,000-yard rusher last year. They have a freshman who's really tearing it up. I think maybe he's a redshirt freshman who's also getting carries. So it doesn't seem to matter who's getting the ball. They're producing. But remember, I also drafted LaShawn Williams in my fantasy team too.
Well, let's not besmirch Darius Taylor's name. He gave you 35 points this week. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I love Darius. I'm just saying, Minnesota has a very underrated offensive line. Sometimes these running backs get credit for how effective the offensive line. Like Ohio State, like we see these guys break tackles. It's kind of, and you see Caleb Johnson, like, okay, Ashton Jeanty from Boise State. There are plays where he has to break 10 tackles before he gets to the scrimmage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that doesn't have, the Iowa guys don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the first person that gets in their way is the safety. That's how great this offensive line is. Coach, what you got?
I think I would take Ohio State to cover in this game, but I just definitely think it's going to be a super interesting one. And then, my last gripe about it is like, I mean, I've been dying to see these linebackers get off blocks also, because none of them do that. So, we'll see if those linemen are getting to the second level. You might see Caleb Johnson really take over a game like this, and it might be super close because Ohio State just doesn't have the ball very long.
That's fair. Chris, did you see the comment that's in the Matt Rife?
Did. There you go.
We'll Matt Rife sucks. We appreciate you jumping on. We'll answer your comment. We'll make this quick as possible because we're already over time. You're allowed to have that opinion. Will Howard has thrown 2 or 3 bad balls every game. This is my everybody will get a shot at this, but my initial opinion is we've seen him throw 2 or 3 bad balls, and Michigan say he threw 2 bad balls, 2 bad balls that are bad enough to where Oregon would have made them pay. With that said, is that we did get a look of how he rebounded in prime time in enemy territory, and I liked what I saw. So I disagree, but we're not going to know until Oregon. That's just the truth. And you guys got anything to add on that question?
I think he had an average at best first half, and he looked really good in that third quarter. I thought that was, he made multiple throws where you're just like, those are NFL caliber throws.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
He's got to avoid taking hits because he clearly was shaken up after he got his bell rung, and Devin Brown came in and threw that nice ball to Jeremiah Smith. But if he gets knocked around, I could see that confidence going down because honestly he really hasn't taken too many hits. And I am a little bit concerned about the backups as well. Yeah, Devin Brown, like I said, just he threw that really nice ball, but then when he came in later on in the game, he didn't look all that great. Julian Sand looked okay. I know they're dumbing down the offense and everything.
Yeah, that's the problem. Well, I do want to comment that on a little bit because I wasn't there at this game, so I don't know, right? But I will say that like Devin Brown, what was it the game before? Marshall, he got in there and he threw he went 0 for 5. And I heard some people grumbling about it, but they ran the same goddamn outplay. You couldn't see it on the broadcast because you can't see the receivers, but it was like it was very clear that they didn't give a shit. They were just trying to end the game and they want him to throw the ball a little bit. So it is, I try not to weigh the bad stuff. I agree with you guys. I think Julian Sand looked better when it came to like the done time when the game was over, but Devin Brown, I think I value what coming off the bench and immediately throwing a touchdown pass under extreme pressure. Under pressure too. That linebacker was screaming in his ear.
Yeah,
dude, that matters to me way more than throwing the ball with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
I mean, I feel like Will Howard, like in response to that one gentleman's comment, I feel like Will Howard showed better composure in a tough situation than any quarterback that we've had. When I talk about Kyle McCord, when I talk about Devin Brown, I think that both of those guys in that similar situation panicked way worse. You can kind of tell with Devin Brown because he throws absolute like Brett Favre rocket balls.
Yeah,
like the fact that Jeremiah Smith caught that pass one-handed when it was thrown on a rope like that is really incredible. I texted you, Josh, because I was like, did you see that? Because like I don't know if I could catch that ball with two hands. That ball was probably going 60 miles an hour. And he caught it with one hand.
Well, that's why we talk about the Devin Brown, Julian Sand thing, and I don't think Devin Brown's going to go any. Sand's
better. Sand, if you had to bring one in a real tight situation, Devin Brown would not handle that situation very well.
He handled it well Saturday.
They both warmed up when Howard
went down
on the ground. Both of them. It was a question as to who actually was going to go in.
Well, it wasn't a question. That's what they said on the broadcast, but it was
a question to me. I mean, we don't know what's going on.
So then here,
we do know because Devin Brown's been the first to go in every single game.
So, what do you guys think would happen? What do you guys think would happen? So, say that they're playing Oregon, and the score's 10-0, and that happens. So that's like a real decision,
sure.
Right? Like we're still kind of in control of that game when Devin Brown comes in. I'm talking who they gonna put in there when
we were only up by like 7 points when Devin Brown came in.
Up by 7 points isn't losing.
I don't. He's saying down 10 to Oregon.
Down 10 to Oregon. Will Howard's out. Which one of those guys you putting in?
I do think you have to go with. I mean, you have to go with the experience, right?
There's a couple different reasons you take Devin Brown. I feel like Julian Sain has a much higher ceiling than every single quarterback on the roster. Mm-hmm. I'm aware of that. I'm not an idiot. Everybody sees that. But first of all, Devin Brown, we're not giving him enough credit for coming off the Michigan State game was not out. This was not a blowout. Michigan State was still very much in it. And his very first pass was a touchdown under pressure. We don't give him enough credit. And he weighs 30 more pounds than Julian Sain. He's huge. I see them both warm up together, and it's like Julian Sain could be his son. That's how much larger.
Do you think that that's not Jeremiah Smith, that any of the other people catch that ball? That's a hard catch on a ball that was going rocket speed.
I think that it took a lot of. I think that it was that Devin Brown. Even if it was an incomplete pass, that was still good footwork and still good ability to get that ball away. I think a lot of people would have hung onto the ball and tried to wait for something to happen. He was just like, fuck it, because that guy was screaming in his ear. And I think we should get credit for that.
You're my friend, but I don't know why you have such a man crush on Devin Brown.
I don't have a man crush on Devin Brown. It's just everybody wants to see the new shiny toy.
Oh, my God.
Sometimes it's not that's just not the thing.
I've got one in here for you though. So let's blow through these tweets of the week. These are some of my favorites. Hey, we've got SpongeBob here with Old Reliable. We've got the airplane lady. Of course, he is not real. The face of the Michigan State fan. Yeah, me too, bro. Me too. Travion Henderson when it's time to pick up a blitz. Without question.
Accurate.
And this one's gonna sting, Josh. But this is me and the boys when Julian Sain gets into the game.
I don't hate Julian Sain. I don't hate. We talk about it all the time. We talk about Avery Johnson, Jackson Arnold. There's a whole list of guys that everybody's excited to see, and then they go out there and they're like, "Oh no, they're not fucking ready." And I'm not saying that that's Julian Sain.
Josh's guy he gets excited about is Devin Brown. We get it. That's
I don't really like Devin. Devin Brown's probably gone after this year. He's probably never going to start for Ohio State. He's sad
day in the Keatley household when Devin Brown leaves Ohio State.
I was Devin when Kyle McCord left. That upset me. I was a Kyle McCord guy. I can admit that. Devin Brown, I'm not gonna stand on a hill for Devin Brown. I just feel like he gets disrespected.
You just have an affinity for
remember when you trashed CJ Stroud?
Oof.
Well, hold on. Well, listen, I didn't trash CJ Stroud. So at the time,
you called for him to be benched.
Yes, there was when I wrote an article. CJ Stroud did not look great against. I think it was against Oregon. He threw for 300 yards, but he also threw like 3 interceptions, right? And at the time, we had CJ Stroud, Kyle McCord, Jack Miller. Now, you're laughing at those last two names. At the time, they were 5-star recruits, okay? And Golden Boy Quinn Ewers. And I said in my article, I did not say CJ Stroud was bad. I didn't say CJ Stroud didn't deserve to play. I said if they're unsure, if CJ Stroud, all these guys aren't going to stay. They're not going to stay. So if there's any doubt, they need to put someone else in. And I even said, I said, Quinn Ewers would be the guy that I would put in because I want to see what he is because he's going to fucking leave. And he did. He left and Jack Miller left that offseason. So yeah, that article, the headline, you could take what you want from that article, but that article was 100% right. That article was 100% right. Quinn Ewers left and he took a team to the playoffs. And I'm not saying he's better than CJ Stroud, but that article was 100% right. Those guys both left that offseason, and we never got to see. we saw Ewers handed off, right?
That is true. We didn't really see him throw the ball.
No, that's what I'm saying. He never got a chance, and that's fine. CJ Stroud ended up being one of the best quarterbacks in Ohio State history, but at the time, that's all I put in the article. Those guys are going to fucking leave because Ohio State fans are delusional with that. Ohio State fans think everybody's going to stay all 5 years and they call the shots, and that's not college football. You bring in a 5-star recruit, you don't play him, he's leaving, especially a guy like Quinn Ewers who left the state to make money.
Hey, the other thing that you have to, that you, just between friends, sorry, but you have to stop caring about what star level they are. You know that there's like those guys are like nerds that can't draw a cover 2 defense on a board.
Whoa, you're accusing me? Oh my God, we'll bring you on the show in the offseason. We'll bring you on the show in the offseason because that's definitely a Mike thing. That's not a me thing. That's a Mike thing.
Well, whoever it is,
like stars.
The star rating.
But I also understand that sometimes stars don't matter. Like I'm done with Sonny Styles was a 5-star and I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, so like that, like you're like that's the thing. Like Sonny Styles or CJ Hicks was the number 1 linebacker in his class, and Gabe was number 2. And there's a definitive difference. Also, Tate Martell was a 5-star recruit. If that tells you anything about the star ratings.
I think I wrote an article on him too, where I thought he was going to win a Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I mean, you just have a thing for subpar quarterbacks.
Whoa, hey, hold on, wait a second. Tate Martell had the funnest. If anybody, dude, Mike, you're telling me if I don't.
His high school mixtape was awesome. Okay,
I was going to say,
he was Bishop Gorman.
Dude was a Boston Gorman. I mean, they won 3 straight national championships.
I was going to say, dude, like you're telling me if I don't Google.
I remember. QB1 was fun with him.
Too. I was excited about him too.
That's what I thought. Everybody was.
But then you see him on the field and you're like, yeah, this ain't it.
But I did compare him to other quarterbacks that were like, I can't remember if it was like fuck.
Hey, you don't even got to tell me. You compared him to Drew Brees.
No. It was like Jamel Holloway, or who was the quarterback at Nebraska? Tommy Frazier. It was a guy that I was like, that guy, he can't fucking throw the ball, but man, he can move, dude. So it wasn't like, I didn't compare him to Drew Brees or Randall Cunningham.
I don't know. That's you overestimate some of these guys, but that's okay.
But Heisman Trophy winner Tommy Frazier.
I can't believe I'm getting
bullshit quarterbacks.
Oh my gosh, that's wild, dude. You'll have to come on an off-season show and talk about recruiting.
Oregon's going to beat Michigan State.
So well, hold on. Wait a second. We gotta go. We always go against the spread on the show. And I want to give everybody. I want to give out flowers because I was talking shit last week. Chris, Mike, congratulations. You both went 5-3. I went 3-5. Maryland and Penn State fucked me. So the records, both Chris and Mike, you guys are now 34, 31-1. I am 35, 30-1. So you guys are still behind, but inching ever so closely. So Oregon travels to East Lansing. No, Michigan State's at Oregon, dude. Right?
No.
Can we Google it, Mike? Can you Google that real quick?
Yeah, I'm on it.
All right, okay. So whatever. Oregon is favored by 24 at this point.
Yes, it is at Oregon.
Oof. All right. So it's at Oregon.
Fired, Chris.
I'll leave the chat.
Mike, who you got in this one given 24?
I think Oregon works. So they looked really good this past weekend. It looks like their offense is starting to kind of find their groove with Dylan Gabriel back there. I'm going to, I'd probably take them at 30.
Really? Ryan, where you at?
I take Oregon.
Chris?
Give me Oregon by, let's be honest. Let's go 31. Let me 1 point, Mike.
So I'm going to take Oregon too, but I thought Oregon looked like shit last week. I mean, UCLA actually moved the ball for the first time all year long, but I mean, Michigan State, we just watched them get their asses handed to them by Ohio State. I'm taking Oregon as well, but Oregon was not somebody that I walked away impressed with last week. All right, on to the next game. UCLA travels to Happy Valley to take on the Penn State Nittany Lions, who are a 28.5-point favorite. This is another huge line change. We went through the key number of 28 points to 28.5. Chris, I'll let you start this one off.
They didn't cover last week. They cover this week. Give me Penn State.
Mike.
I like the Nittany Lions too. I think UCLA, they have a relationship, a quote unquote relationship. They played Oregon before. They know who they are. It's like personnel's not going to be surprising, or especially, as opposed to like the newer teams like Michigan State, that, like it's just like they just don't get it yet. They will, but I think that this is a game where, Penn State just houses them. Plus, they're coming off that big win against Illinois, so I like the Nittany Lions.
Ryan, where you at?
Oh, I take Penn State all day. Drew Aller's the best quarterback in the Big Ten.
Like it.
I said that in the preseason. Our number one quarterback in the Big Ten said in the preseason. See,
I don't know about.
We have the same quarterback taste. What are you going to do now?
I don't believe you said that. You'd have to show me the replay or something.
Mike,
they also have the best running back in the Big Ten. Oh, well, maybe besides Ohio State, but yeah.
I put Travion and Quinshon. I think Mike and I both had Travion. All right, I'm with you guys. I got Penn State. Penn State looked like shit last week. Really upset me. Really disappointed me. But perhaps that's because Illinois is better than I thought.
Illinois is good, Josh.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. That's what I was trying to tell them last week. Illinois is good.
Perhaps Illinois is
Josh,
better
you
than
like Devin Brown, but you don't respect Illinois?
Yeah, Drew Altmaier says, "What up?"
Luke Altmaier, you goddamn it!
I don't even know his name.
UCLA. I was gonna say UCLA actually looked really good last week, so I'm a little scared to take Penn State. I'm taking Penn State. All right, on to the next game. Purdue travels to Madison, Wisconsin. Where's it? Oh, there it is. It's at the. Oh, we're out of order. That's all right. To take on the Wisconsin Badgers, who are a 13-point favorite. Mike, I'll let you lead this one off.
Purdue made a change in their offensive coordinator this week. I don't think it helps them. The Badgers looked good for a half against UNC and then imploded at home. Kind of curious as to how they respond, but I think they beat Purdue by that 12.5.
Chris, what you got?
Who was that offensive coordinator? Graham Harrell, right?
Graham Harrell.
Old quarterback for Texas Tech, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he had the career passing record for a while. Passing yards record.
He was right in that sweet spot of Texas Tech quarterback greatness with Cliff Kingsbury, Graham Harrell, and Sonny Cumbie.
Oh my goodness.
Was he like Michael Crabtree's quarterback his whole career?
That might have been Cumbie, right? No, you're right. It was Graham Harrell.
No, it was great. Yeah, I think it was great.
Yeah.
That helps. Having him as your
a little bit. He was kind of good.
Let's be real. I think Purdue finishes in the bottom of the Big Ten this year. If you're firing your offensive coordinator week 4, the rest of the coaching staff's probably not far behind it. Give me Wisconsin. Give me Wisconsin all day.
My God, Chris, that's a bold take, dude. You really
went
out on a limb saying Purdue sucks.
They're my last pick in the Big Ten.
Coach, where you at?
Wisconsin I think I take Wisconsin all day, but I do worry. I love Luke Fickell, but he's just substandard right now. He has to win this game, I feel like, to kind of get back on track.
Yeah, I'm with you. Both teams have been very disappointing this year. I'm going to take Wisconsin. The problem with Luke Fickell is that he went up there and he's like, I'm going to change the offense. We're going to run the dairy raid. And that's just not what you do at Wisconsin, but it is what it is. Purdue's awful, so I'm going to ride with Wisconsin. Next game, Indiana.
Lost a quarterback too.
Hudson Card? Oh, you mean Tyler Van Dyke? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Indiana travels to Evanston, Illinois, to take on the Northwestern Wildcats, who are getting 14 points. So Indiana is favored by 14 points, which is another big spread change. Chris, when are you pulling these numbers, man? You pulling them on Sunday?
I'm pulling on Sunday.
Yeah,
gotcha.
All my work's done on Sunday. I got to do real work on Monday.
Well, the spread is 14 now. Another big line change. Chris, what you got on this one?
Oh, buddy, I love watching Indy. Give me Indy by 21. Give me Indy by 21 at Northwestern.
Mike, what you got?
I'm on the same thing. I'd probably even take him at 24. I think Indiana's offense looks absolutely awesome. I got to give you props. You were right about Cignetti, man. He's we talked about it last week. I'm not sure I'd rank him that high right now or quite yet. He still has a little bit more to prove, but he is the best in my eyes. He's probably the best hire of the offseason. He's got Indiana rolling. I think this is their third 5-0 start ever. I think they just work Northwestern.
Coach.
I agree with everything Mike said, and Northwestern is the worst team in the Big Ten. So Indiana dog walks them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Here we go, baby. Chris Signetti is the best coach in the Big Ten. I stand by that. Indiana, I've been wrong on them. You know, I took Maryland because the talent gap was so huge, and I was wrong. They proved me wrong again. Here's the deal, though. Northwestern's coming off a bye, and I think that David Braun is a decent coach. He's going to have his boys ready. Northwestern at home. The home dog getting 14 points. Give me Northwestern, baby.
On an island?
Oh.
Out on an island, yeah. Play those steel drums, baby.
There we go.
All right, next game. Rutgers travels to Nebraska to take on the Huskers, who are favored by 7 points. Mike, you can hit this one first.
And 7's a little low. I think 11.5, 12 would be a little bit better. I got the Huskers. We're going to keep it quick.
Chris.
I'm going Rutgers. I think this is a 3-point ball game. Nebraska wins. Give me the Rutgers, though.
Coach, where you at?
I take Nebraska. Raiola will be too much for Rutgers in this game. Dude,
this is the first time that Mike and Chris have disagreed in like 2 weeks. It's got me a little nervous.
I've got to find a gap somewhere.
I was going to say, like, what the fuck are you doing? All right, so I'm going to take Nebraska as well. Dude, Rutgers has looked good this year. Rutgers they looked really good last week.
Yeah.
But Washington blows, so I'm going to ride with Nebraska. So let's do that. Michigan travels to Washington to take on the Huskies, who are favored by 3 points. Another big line change, doubled from 1.5 to the key number of 3. Chris, I'll let you go first.
No, just can't do it. As much as I hate to say it, Michigan finds a way.
I have to agree with that one. Look, I have no idea why this line is like that. I think, like you just said, Washington has not looked very good.
No.
I admitted last week I was way wrong. I didn't think they'd fall off this hard. They're falling hard. Michigan, they have an identity and they just follow it. They run the ball and they play really good defense. I don't see Washington scoring a lot in this one. This was pretty easy for me. I'm taking the Wolverines.
Coach.
As long as Orgy doesn't throw the ball more than 10 times, Michigan will win the game.
I'm with you guys. I'm taking Michigan as well. That'll happen when you have 0 returning starters in the offense and 2 returning starters in the defense and a brand new coach. Washington just has got no shot, man. Michigan does what they do, and they do it really well. They're not a great team, but they're very comparable to Iowa, where you don't want to play them. So, and you're going to give me them getting points.
I know, right?
Yeah, man. Now, they didn't look good against Minnesota. That game kind of got away from them.
Yeah, they should have lost that. Did you see the Big Ten came out and said that they're going to change the rules about onside kicks? So now, so previously you wouldn't be able to review it. Now they have petitioned the NCAA. The NCAA said, yes, you are able to review onside kicks now.
Yeah, it was very clear that Minnesota got the onside kick.
They weren't even close, Ryan.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. I mean, there was a guy a yard there when the ball was hit. Not even close.
It's unnerving. It's unnerving to take Michigan because some of their season, their biggest wins have been based off of weird shit like that. So, but Washington's bad. So I am going to ride with Michigan. I will say, though, I'm going to run a victory lap. Denzel Boston, baby. Both you and Chris both told me that was a fucking stupid pick. Number 1 wide receiver by a long shot. Not just a number 1 wide receiver. I think he's like, no, I don't want to exaggerate, but I think he's a top 5 scoring wide receiver in the Big Ten total, fantasy wise.
Yes,
but I'll have to double check.
Let's say this though, that Minnesota catch, that last touchdown, if it wasn't for Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams in Alabama, that was catch of the week easily.
Oh,
that touchdown!
Wow, yeah, it was awesome.
All right, next game, last game, USC travels to Minnesota to take on the Gophers, USC is an 8.5-point favorite, not a huge line difference from what you got, Chris. Mike, I'll let you start this one off.
I think USC continues their momentum that they found last week in the second half against Wisconsin. They obviously need a little time to adjust to Big Ten play, and I think they have, and they've done it quickly. It took them 6 quarters. I think they run Minnesota out of the building.
Chris, what you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Mike on this one. Give me USC by 14.
Coach.
I go with USC in this game. Minnesota's like inside now, right? They don't play outside no more.
No, they play outside.
Yeah, outside.
Yeah, no, they're
Hopefully
outside.
it's a freaking like blizzard there. That would be hilarious to see USC. They're probably like, what is this? We didn't sign up to play in snowstorm. But yeah, I take USC.
I would still take USC. I'm going to take USC too. They looked good last week. They finished Wisconsin off. They struggled there at the front. They proved that they were a little bit tougher than I thought they were. Minnesota looked good too. It's such a hard fought, emotional game. You got to go with USC. USC got a little bit of a gap there. I think that they're going to be ready for it. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
That works.
Okay.
That works.
So, gentlemen, I've got a question of the week. We can hold off on that for next week if you'd like.
Probably a good idea. Mike, what's your call though?
Probably. Yeah, let's hold off. We're a little past an hour, so
okay.
We'll get it there next week. Oh, there's that touchdown catch. I did not see that. I'm actually watching a replay of the game.
Like I said,
which is what I do every week. I throw the game back on while we're talking, and it kind of reminds me of what the hell went on.
If it wasn't for Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams of Alabama,
that was sick. Yeah, I'm at halftime right now, and that was one hell of a catch.
Current standings in our Big Ten fantasy draft, Josh is still out to a absolutely embarrassing lead.
Yeah.
And of course he besmirched Darius Taylor earlier, but look at him with 30 points.
I drafted Darius Taylor because that Minnesota offensive line is good, my friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
System over player. That's what it's all about. But the highest score should be noted that the highest scoring player that's not on a fantasy team is still Billy Edwards, the starting quarterback from Maryland. And the reason I bring that up is because despite having this great lead, I drafted the backup fucking quarterback like an idiot because I thought that he was going to start, but he is too stupid apparently.
Was he a 5-star? Is that what it is?
No,
he was a high 4-star,
but he was a transfer, so maybe that there was a little bias with the transfer. I did do that.
He was a 5-star in the portal.
Oh Lord,
fucking dicks.
All right, gentlemen, we're gonna wrap this up here. Any last thoughts? No, we got nothing.
No, I mean, if Ohio State doesn't start Gabe Powers in the next 2 weeks, they all deserve to be fired.
They all deserve to be fired.
Yeah,
that's fair.
All right,
that's it for me, man. You follow me on Twitter at JoshKeatley16, and I'll be here every week.
Read his stuff on Buckeyes Wire, boys and girls. Do that. Go to the website. Josh writes a bunch of good stuff. I just send him a bunch of random crap all day long on Twitter, and he just never responds to it. And I love it.
I wrote the gray piece last night.
Oh, okay. Oh, you
did?
did?
See that?
No,
yeah.
I missed that. All right. Well, I'm just, I get a lot of Buckeye stuff on my feed. So
I'm a little busy with that hurricane too, by the way.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah. Thanks for answering all my calls this week, so I could vent to you about my Ohio State linebacker frustrations. This guy's trying to deal with hurricanes in Florida, and I'm talking to him about Ohio State linebacker play for hours at a time.
I got him on one line, mad about the linebackers, and I got Mrs. Johnson on the other, complaining about how she has no house, and I don't know
who's. Chris.
Oh, you can find me at CRunyon15 on Twitter, but I'm here to tell you I'm just there for the memes.
Yeah, aren't we all? Aren't we all? You can find me on Twitter at MikeFJed. I mean, you don't have to read my stuff on Fighting Irish Wire, but you can if you like. You just click on it. That'd be nice, but that's how I get paid. So,
I have no interest in pitching any type of social media platform that I'm on. So
Hey, we just throw it out there as an opportunity if you want to, just to find where our stuff is and all that. So, well, once again, Ryan, thank you for joining us. We very much appreciate your time. We will definitely have you back on again. Your insight was absolutely fantastic. And that's it for us. Let's beat some Hawkeyes this weekend. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.